everyone, so today I'm back with a new coffee chat video. Today is coffee chat number, I can't remember, I'm just going to refer to the book. Okay, so today is coffee chat number 6 and we're going to be talking about the best and the worst parts of living in university halls. I've just come up with a few sort of lists like I did the last coffee chat video. Similar layout, I'm just going to talk about pros and cons of the realities of living in university halls because I think it's fair enough to say that there are both good and bad sides to living in university. Okay, so I just have a list here of mixture and pros and cons. Probably missed a bunch, and I think I'm just going to put a little disclaimer here saying that all the cons, remember, they aren't that bad. In the reality of things, they're really not bad at all. And all in all, I loved living in uni halls because it meant that I met so many people. Always say it, I'm living with people that I met in my uni halls, and I loved it. And I think whether you enjoyed it or not, I would always recommend personally living in university halls in on-campus accommodation because you get the full university experience. Whether it goes well or not, I just personally think it's the best way to approach at least your first year of uni. So I'm going to get started with the cons list just so we can start the video on a more negative and then end it on a positive note. Communal kitchen can be a hassle sometimes. Things like cleaning duties, you don't know who you're living with at first. You know, like everyone has different cleaning schedules and levels that they think things are clean at and things like that. So things like cleaning can get very difficult, and also things do get stolen. Whether that's intentionally or not, I know we had a bunch of our alcohol that we'd had in the kitchen stolen because someone else's flat had come in and basically just stolen it all, and we had no idea who it was. But in terms of things being stolen amongst our flat, most likely things that go missing are probably just taken by mistake. A lot of the time you will most likely come to uni with matching or very similar items to someone else in your flat because obviously everyone goes to the same sort of places. So it does happen. Don't get too attached to any of your kitchenware in particular because it will happen. It'll either break or get stolen or lost. The laundrette, personally, it was a real hassle. So I know some people's university accommodation has a laundrette inside the building, so you just have to go onto a different floor. Personally, ours was in a separate building kind of next to our accommodation building, so that meant that to go to the laundrette you had to lug all of your washing outside, no matter the weather. It was a pain, and a lot of the time they were busy as well, so you'd have to go at really obscure hours, so it wasn't the nicest thing to have to do. And also things like the cost alone was quite annoying. And also there were a few instances of people taking other people's stuff out of the dryer, but my biggest issue with that is that sometimes people would not. Okay, so when you do washing, you put a timer on your phone, so you go back, so you don't have to wait around in the laundrette, and you come back when the time is done to collect your washing and move it into the dryer, you know, everything like that. But a lot of the time there'd be a lot of people who don't set that alarm and they don't come and collect their washing, so they clog up the washing machines, and that became quite a hassle, and people would eventually just end up taking out people's stuff, which isn't great, but don't be that person that doesn't go and collect their washing when the time is up. Another con is that clashes happen. They do happen. I think I've said this in a video before. There is no guarantee that you're going to be chucked in this basically in a house. You're living together with a group of people you've never met before, you've no clue what they're like, who they are. Clashes can happen, and they do happen, and you do have to accept it, whether that's amongst your flat, whether that's just in general. It does happen. It isn't the end of the world. Sometimes people just don't get along, and don't stress yourself out too much about it because, yeah, okay, it might be awkward when you bump into them every now and then in the kitchen, but you can live with that so much better than if you had to argue constantly. So that is a much better environment to be in. So yeah, don't stress yourself out about things like that because they happen. Okay, uni halls, constant noise. You never don't hear noise, whether that is just footsteps. We had so many people in the flat above. They ran about and they made so much noise, and it didn't bother us because we knew that was just university environment. And just because we were on the ground floor doesn't mean that we don't make any noise, that there's no one below us to hear it. So there will always be noise. Don't get too mad about it. You kind of learn to live with it. It's not a big deal, obviously, unless it's dramatic, like in exam season. If someone's throwing tables, then yeah, fair enough, get annoyed. But it does happen, especially just of an evening because people drink, people pre. So that happens. Also, sex. You do hear people having sex. don't take yourself too seriously with that. Don't get annoyed about it, because it happens. People are living there. It happens. So just kind of prepare yourself that it will happen and learn to sort of, I don't know, laugh about it and accept it. You have to learn to live with the hassle of like meal planning and weekly food shopping. Weekly food shopping becomes a real pain after the first couple of months, because you don't want to have to do it. Most people's unis aren't super close to the supermarket, so you either have to bus there and back or walk there and back. Sorry, there's an ambulance. And it is not the most ideal experience, because you don't really want to have to ideally lug a bunch of shopping back, but it does happen and it does get to be quite a hassle. So get yourself into the swing of like meal planning and things and budgeting quite early, because after all it just gets so annoying having to think about it. So kind of linking on to what I said earlier about the cleaning thing, you always have to remember that the places like the kitchen, they are communal, and that means no matter whether you like preed in there with everyone but didn't leave your bottles there, some of it will be your mess. And even if it's not, sometimes you kind of just have to say, okay, like it's a communal mess, we had a good time and I will clean it up, or I will help. Everyone has to do their part, so don't be that person that's too stubborn and said, you know, I'll only clean up my part, I'll only clean up my bottles, because it's a communal area and everyone wants to enjoy it, and you were there enjoying the area as well. So you will at some point have to do your part and clean up someone else's mess, just because it makes the environment so much more habitable and you'll enjoy it a lot more. So just accept that that will happen. I don't know what everyone's fridge and freezer space is like in different unis, but I know that fridge and freezer space is sacred. It's very limited and you will have to make the most out of it. So don't come to uni like expecting to only live on frozen pizzas and buy frozen food like for 3 weeks in advance, because there's no way you'll be able to store it, and if you do, you're being quite selfish with freezer space. So learn to sort of adapt a mixed diet of frozen and fresh food, because you don't want to rely on all one or the other, because it's not going to happen. You'll find yourself shopping way more because all your stuff goes out of date, or you don't have the space for it. So learn to adapt a mixed diet there. Okay, so now moving on to the pros. See, like I said, the cons weren't that bad. They're just things that you kind of have to adapt to. But the pros, you will without a doubt make friends, whether that is in the first day, the first week, the first month, in your halls, on your course. Most likely you will meet at least some people you get on with in your halls, because there's so many people living in campus accommodations. There's just so many people, especially if you take part in like pre-drinks and things. Even if you don't drink, pre-drinks is a great way just to meet random people, because you just go around and meet everyone, especially Freshers Week, or at the Freshers Fairs and things. So halls is like the easiest way to make friends, because you can't help but meet new people. It is just, you walk around and you see new people. So you will without doubt meet some friends in uni halls. Freedom in halls is really nice, especially if your like halls was like mine, where it was on campus and it was really close to the main campus area, because it means that things like timing and stuff you have so much more freedom with, and you have everything there. Eating, you can eat by yourself, obviously if you're not on a meal plan, you can eat wherever you want, and having that freedom in halls is so nice, because you have everything there, and that is one thing that you do miss living in a house, having everything just 5 minutes away, so that you don't have to add like extra time onto everything in your day. You just have complete freedom over what you do with your time. And linking on with that, a lot is taken care of for you, and that's so nice. It's like such a luxury that I think no one really realised until, you know, moving into a second year house. Things like, I just have like bills, safety, things like that. A lot of it's taken care of for you, and it's a nice way to kind of break down that barrier. It eases you into living by yourself, because you don't realise just how much is done for you in first year living in halls. So like I said, bills, everything is taken care of. Wi-Fi, you have to worry about any of that, water, anything, all of that sort of adult stuff that you will have to gradually get used to. Taking care of yourself in second year when you move into a house. It is taken care of for you, so I think learn to appreciate that, because that is a really nice luxury that you don't always get to continue on having. Living in comfy clothes or pyjamas or loungewear is normal, and it is so nice. Like the majority of the time you will meet people in their pyjamas. Most people I know, like, we just barely put actual normal clothes on unless we had to leave the halls. Like I said, because everything was there, you barely had to get out of comfy clothes, unless even lectures, most people didn't even go in like dressed up. So that's a really nice thing, being able just to constantly be in your pyjamas. I don't know how, again, everyone's uni works, but we got a cleaner every week. Some people get cleaners fortnight in halls, but we had a cleaner that would come and clean the communal areas every week, and I think you don't realise just how much of a luxury that is. We also had bin men that took out the bins every day, every morning, except on weekends, and on those weekends you would notice just how messy and how much rubbish accumulated. So it's a really nice luxury, again, that you don't really realise is there until you don't have it the next year. Another pro is that you will never be alone. I mean, unless you ignored everyone and completely isolated yourself in your room through your own choice, locked your door, sat in the dark, you will literally never be alone. There will always be someone about doing something, or even just if no one's in the kitchen, for example, you could just drop it in the group chat, because most likely someone will be in to have a chat to you. So if you're alone dinner, like making dinner in the kitchen, you can just literally drop a message and there'll be people about, and that's really nice because you will never be bored. So yeah, it could be a bad thing sometimes, like in exam season, it's proven to be quite an easy distraction, but no, feel comforted knowing that you will never be alone. On the flip side of the whole revision thing, having a group of people always there, always doing work, because obviously you're all together, you're all in this together, is great for group motivation when you're doing revision. Obviously you can be a distraction to each other at times, but it's so great everyone being productive. Like, we used to sit in the kitchen together and have a couple of hours of just productive work, and then when you needed a break you could just chat, and it was so nice having that motivation. Whether you did the same course as them or not, didn't matter, you just had this environment where all of you were working, and it was so nice because everyone else got motivated because of it. Okay, so that is all of the pros and cons that I could think of. Let me know down below your experience, if you've had any other pros and cons, and if there's anything else you want me to discuss to do with uni, because I know obviously a lot of you will be moving back now, or have just, or moved in, yeah. I think it's around that sort of time. I know our Freshers Week is this coming Saturday, so yes, I hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know what you want to see in the future, and I will see you guys soon for another video. Bye.